All right, for more on this deadly attack, let's bring in Steve Rogers, a former member of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. Thanks for joining us this morning. And I guess we'll start with, this was a terrible moment and just shows how low this group can go in order to kind of push this agenda. Is there any bottom?
Well, something that really raised my interest was the target itself. They were young girls. There was a female singer. The venue was predominantly populated by young women and girls, and ISIS certainly does not look fond upon females, let alone young females. So this gives us some pause to think about what might be on their minds in the future with regard to targets.
Yeah, not the first time, though, that they've hit or targeted a concert venue where there's a lot of people. They go there. It's supposed to be a safe place. They are expecting to have a good night. You mentioned the women hit. There was one woman I heard about. She died. She was 32 years old, and she died laying over and protecting her sister and her niece. Do you think that this is a trend that we'll see targeting specifically women?
Well, you would hope not, but it's possible. This is the first time that I can remember that a target was mainly populated by women. And look, you had a women singer, you had a lot of women from all different ages, and this may be a trend, but it's something, though, that we can now learn from. And we're going to be looking at potential targets of these terrorists that may, be populated by females for the most part.
I mean, is there any way to protect yourself, I guess, is the question. Is there any way to prevent something like this? I think for the first time in my life over the last couple of years, I've started thinking about it when I walk into a very busy place or I walk into a concert. It's kind of one of the things on my mind is, could it happen here? What do you do to keep yourself safe?
Well, it could happen anywhere, but the best thing we could do is take the advice that we've given people since day one. If you see something, say something. I notice a lot of people in my conversations with them say, well, I'm reluctant to say anything because I don't want to bother the police. I don't want to look foolish. You're not going to look foolish. You'd rather err on the side of safety if you're erring at all. So the best way to handle this from an individual perspective is if you see something that's suspicious, you get that gut feeling that it's not right, say something immediately.
This suicide bomber, actually we should call him a homicide bomber because he killed 22 people. The way in which he did this, is that something that we can learn from moving forward? We were just discussing during the break that it's similar in part to the nail bombs, the shrapnels that went off at the Boston bombing.
One of the things we are learning is that we're going to have to change some of our security procedures. For example, he couldn't get into the stadium. It was impossible because of the security measures. So the second best thing for this individual was to wait outside until people were exiting. And when there's large crowds, that's when they want to detonate these bombs. So you might see security measures change where you'll now have, for example, long chain link fences and people just walking like a snake through those fences and continuously flowing so that there's no longer any large gatherings, masses of people.
Yeah, pandering our security around what's happened in the past. It's sad to say that could be a reality, that you can't even walk out of a place, but you're right, they're avoiding security when they can and getting around it. So, Steve, thanks so much for coming on this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.